Welcome, everybody, to the Gate Expectations podcast, where I bring in a weekly guest, talk all things Yu-Gi-Oh!, and get to know a little more about each person I talk to. This is the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Podcast that is run by a full-fledged journalist such as myself. This is episode 9. If you haven't checked it out yet, you can check out earlier podcasts with guests like Pen God Stephen Trifanowski, Jesse Cotton, Team Samurai X1, Doug Zeef, and several others. My guest for this week is the current reigning North American champion. He is also a YCS champion, has his own Twitch stream with over 4,000 subscribers, and is arguably one of the best players of this past decade. It's Koty Angeloff. Koty, man, thank you so much for joining us here on the podcast.
Thank you for having me, David. I really appreciate it.
Hey, man, and I really appreciate you being on, man. I know, you've been really hot lately playing this game, and it hasn't stopped yet. I mean, you're still the champion technically right now, just because of this whole pandemic that's happened. So you get to hold on to that title for another extra year, man. And I know I congratulated you when you won that title, man. I'm sure that had to be a big feeling for you.
Yeah, it was a surreal experience. I never thought that I would ever be crowned a national champion, even though of how much work I have put into actually being a national champion. So whenever I won, I was just speechless.
Yeah. So let's rewind and let's start there with that national championship that happened last year. You won it with the Crusadia Thunder Dragon, if I recall. What made you decide to use that deck for that event?
So the reason why I chose to play the Thunder Dragon deck for that event is because the meta at the time was Thunder Dragon, Orcus with Rusty. There was Sky Striker that was playing Mystic Mine, and then we also had Salamangreat with 3 Gazelle, 3 Circle. I believe Circle was still at 3. And yeah, so that was the meta. And I always think that the combo decks are the better decks to play. And if I'm playing a combo deck, then I either was wanting to play the Thunder Dragon deck or the Orcus deck, since those were the 2 prevalent combo decks at the time. So,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Would you agree with me saying that if you play a combo deck, there's a much higher ceiling and skill level that's involved to kind of pilot those kind of decks, so you kind of get bigger rewards per se with playing the deck that you did?
I do agree with that. I think that the higher the ceiling your deck is, the better chance you have of winning the match. And for Thunder Dragon, I thought that Thunder Dragon had the highest ceiling between it and Orcus, simply because it had so many different lines of play, and whenever you would play against these control decks that were more favored in the tournament, like Salad and Sky Striker, these decks usually did not have the ability to put up enough interruptions / negates for the Thunder Dragon deck to not be able to just push through. And also, Colossus was probably just the defining card of that format, and it hit both Salamangreat and the Sky Striker deck very, very hard.
Yeah, because those 2 decks searched like crazy, and every time I played against Thunder Dragons when I was playing Strikers, I always had that as a terrifying matchup, especially if they won the die roll. Getting Colossus out first turn, or mentioning 2 or 3 Colossus up was just painful enough to get through as it is. So I thought the Thunder Dragon at that time was an excellent matchup, and you mixed it with Crusadia as well to kind of give it that little extra speed and combo power to really build those big decks. And I don't know what your thought process was before that, going into that event. It certainly paid off with that championship win.
Right. So prior to the national championship, well, Nats, I guess, prior to that, 2 months before that, I was actually grinding for regional points, since I needed to still get a couple more regional points to be able to qualify for the points playoff. And so I went and I played in 7 regionals in 1 month with the deck.
Oh my! Wow.
And also at the time, Jesse Cotton, he was also doing the regionals grind. So every single weekend I'd see him, and we were both playing the Thunder Dragon deck. And every single regional that we went to, it was either me or him winning the regional every time. And we both played the Thunder Dragon deck because we both thought that it was the best deck, which I still think that it was the best deck of the format simply because of how powerful it was, and just because of like the power factor of it, and also it didn't really brick that much since we also had three of all the dangers being Nessie, Jackalope, and Tsuchinoko.
Mm-hmm.
Um, having these cards was so powerful against all the other decks because it felt like that you would never run out of extenders. You would never at all.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of deck would maybe feel kind of refreshing to you because it's not like a lot of linear plays that you have to do, unlike Salamangreats, where it's fairly almost everybody knows the combo at this point in time, and it's kind of one track mind to get to where you need. But if you play a bunch of dangers, mixing that with Thunder Dragons, there's like a whole different outlets to be able to get yourself to that final end board that's the optimum board that you would want in Thunder Dragons. And it doesn't have to be the exact same board either. So I think that would also be a big reason why Thunder Dragon was so prevalent back then, especially with the dangers.
Right, and then a lot of people that tried to play the Thunder Dragon deck too, like were turned off of it as well, simply because of how hard it was to play and
Mm-hmm.
to pretty much pilot it correctly. It
Mm-hmm.
was very very hard since there's so many different lines of play, and so many different variations of the combo you could do. Because, like for instance, if you were playing against Salamangreat, uh, a lot of people would pretty much just overlook the fact that, oh, their Sunlight Wolf that they ended on turn one is
Mm-hmm.
giving you a free arrow to be able to make some cool guard dragon plays with like your Pissy and LP after you make your Lambda.
Mm-hmm.
So like being able to use these types of arrows and these sort of plays, being able to pretty much separate the good players from the great players that played the deck, and everyone that played the Thunder Dragon deck that saw good results was able to pretty much unlock the full potential of Thunder Dragon against all these different types of matchups and actually be able to adapt to all these different types of situations.
Yeah, because you could argue that at that point that Thunder Dragons could build like the most optimum board possible out of any other deck because they have so many different floodgates that hop off right off the bat that are like just natural monsters. I mean, putting up for example, like several Colossus, maybe a Titan, and then maybe another floodgate monster like the Arc Fiend Bane monster. It was devastating to get through a round when I had to play through those decks, and it was a challenge, especially with Salamangreats if I didn't have a hand trap.
Exactly. Like I feel like the only time I ever lost to like the Salamangreat deck was whenever they would open 5 hand traps and then top deck Gazelle.
Yeah.
And whenever I was playing against the Sky Striker deck, the only time I felt like I lost to them is whenever they'd have like a Widow Anchor and like 2 mines or something like that. And like being able to take these risks in sort of the tournament setting, like nationals, I thought
Mm-hmm.
was definitely very, very very optimal to say for me.
So, what was your feeling going into that WCQ with the deck that you had?
So, Friday actually, I played in the points playoff, and I didn't play the Thunder Dragon deck.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
this was actually what I was preparing for, like the entire month before. Since I wasn't really preparing for nationals, I was preparing for the points playoff to be able to go to Worlds that way.
Okay.
And I ended up playing Altergeist, funny enough. So I get a lot of hate about this. Whenever I talk to my friends about it, saying like, "Oh, this was a huge mistake for you. Why would you ever play Altergeist?" And even on my Twitch stream as well, like I get so much hate about this, but in retrospect, it was correct for me to play this deck simply because I knew what every other competitor in the top 16, except for 1 to 2 people, were playing,
Mm-hmm.
and I built my deck to pretty much beat the Sky Striker deck and the Thunder Dragon deck, where I eventually ended up losing to Jesse in top 8 of the points playoff
Oh,
while he was
wow.
playing Sky Striker.
Yeah.
But Jesse played like 23 different types of cards to pretty much destroy back row. So
Mm-hmm.
it was just so unfortunate for me to be having to pretty much get paired up against Jesse, against the one deck that actually had a chance to beat me there.
Now you mentioned that when you saw Jesse about almost every single region when you're doing that points playoff, like 7 regionals 1 month. Did you happen to play against Jesse at one point at all during that time?
I think we played 2 or 3 times actually. It was 2 or 3, and every time that we would play each other, the other one would just win the regional. I think we played twice where he won the regional in Lock Haven, and then the next weekend after that we played at a Ohio regional, and I ended up beating him there,
Mhm.
and I ended up winning that regional. And then we also played at nationals actually in the main event.
Oh, when did you play him at nationals?
I played Jesse round 8 whenever we were both undefeated. I played
Oh,
him round 8 and I won the die roll, and that's pretty much just how the matchup went.
uh,
Yeah, I just won, just comboed him game 1. Game 2, he comboed me, and then game 3, I comboed him.
yeah, it just seems the way like the lay of the land sometimes in some certain formats. Uh, just winning the die roll. I mean, I actually had to play him in Chicago 2018, and it was one of those die roll things. He won the die roll. He won the first one, and then I won the second game. We were both playing Zodiac Mirror match, and then I didn't know the deck very well, so I just screwed to him afterwards and said, "Here, you take it. You're probably going to do much better than I would." So I let him have it. But yeah, like some formats you can just kind of get that. Sometimes it's a die roll format. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, even if you play every single right move. But you can still lose.
Right, but that's where deck building comes into effect as well, though. Like in these types of formats, even like the current format that we're in right now, like being able to build your deck correctly, so it's not as much of a die roll type
Mm-hmm.
format as people like to see it
Mm-hmm.
as. Um, Building your deck properly is also a great way to be able to get an advantage on your opponent.
And I agree with that because it's such an easy fallback for a lot of lesser players to just kind of blame formats on the die roll when they don't really want to take accountability for it. But even the good players don't win die rolls. But yet there's some we still get consistent winners that come out for time and time again. So obviously there has something that's affecting that play, and then deck building, of course, is lately has been like one of the biggest focuses of getting other people to the next level. I know that you have some sort of hand in that because I know you have your own little like dueling coaching. In other words, let me check. It's you call that take notes, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, I have a coaching program called Take Notes.
Yeah, could you tell me a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, I can. So pretty much Take Notes is also, for everyone that doesn't know, my Twitch stream is just for like pretty much to be an informative competitive type channel where I don't think it's fun if everyone's just bad at the game. So my main reason for streaming is to pretty much make it so other people get better at the game and make the game more competitive so I can have fun as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and my coaching service actually goes over pretty much how to pretty much take your game to the next level. For
Mm-hmm.
instance, if you're topping regionals but you keep losing on the bubble of the YCS, I can identify the problem, why you keep bubbling, and what the problem is, how to fix this, and
Mm-hmm.
actually be able to start topping consistently at
Mm-hmm.
YCSs. Or like if you just want a regional top, I can start helping you get to that level where you can top a regional. Or
Mm-hmm.
even if you just want to pretty much just polish like your deck building techniques or your technical play or anything of the sort like that. I can help you with that as well. I'm very flexible with what I can do to help you, and right now I have not gotten any bad reviews right
Mm-hmm.
now, and I think everyone has been very, very happy with the service that I've provided them so far.
Yeah. So, for example, I'll use myself just as an example here. So, like, I'm a duelist that's kind of inconsistent with regionals. Like, I have like 10 regional tops. That's how much I have, and I've topped one YCS before. But there are some times where like I would struggle a lot during regionals. I've probably played about like 40, 50 regionals at this point in time, and I played about like over 10, like 15 YCSs. And then I'm at that point where I'm trying to do it on a consistent basis rather than like the semi-consistent. I'm usually average like one a year per se. So I'm sure that you've got something for me to be able to get over that hump on the level that I'm at.
Right. So, for instance, if you were to take my coaching program,
Mm-hmm.
I would pretty much ask you what deck you're playing. I
Mm-hmm.
would figure out like how you go about thinking of plays, how you go about thinking of building your decks, how do you go about pretty much like playing through boards, and all of these different types of things. And after I do this and figure out like what I think the problem is, I will pretty much pinpoint and attack that one the one problem that I see. And then after we fix this, we'll go on to the next problem, and I'll attack that problem and pretty much help you until you don't think that you have any more problems left, and then you can actually perform to your fullest like you want to.
Have you seen any results so far from your program?
I actually have. So even though there's no real life events right now, one of my students actually he also gets coached by Duelist Academy as well, but he actually just won the last LCS event, and he saw I saw him pretty much improve as a player as he came to me asking for help to pretty much improve on. And I saw it in his gameplay, like his technical play, and I mainly helped him with a lot of his deck building, mainly his side deck. And he said that whenever I interviewed him after, he said that the side deck worked pretty much perfectly, and that he was very grateful that he took the coaching session, and he said that he would do it again if he could.
Is it just you that's working with take notes right now?
Right now, I think I'm the only one that's been coaching, but for staff that we have right now, it's myself, Hani Jawari, Kamal Crooks, and Christian Urena. Right now, we are the coaches that are pretty much offering services for the Take Notes program. All very, very good players, I think. And all of us have different things to teach people. So if for some reason, if you don't think that I'm the right coach for you, but you think like Hani is, you can definitely sign up for a session with Hani and then see how he helped you instead of how I would help you. And then pretty much every single Yu-Gi-Oh player has different views of the game. They have different ideas of what they think is right. They have different reasonings why they think this is right. And sometimes seeing all these different perspectives will help you in a wider screen. What's a good word?
Perspective?
Yeah, a better perspective of things, like a wider perspective of things, and pretty much help you overall in your gameplay.
And I know that's a little bit different from how Duelist Academy does it, because I'm pretty sure their coaching is they just kind of just give you a coach, and then but here you get the option to choose on who you want to be with, which is different from what I'm seeing, and that's kind of cool actually. It's like going to college. You know, you don't have the same professor over and over again. You have multiple different professors that teach a variety of subjects. Is that kind of the way that you guys are doing it?
Yeah. So I know that Duelist Academy, once you pay for one of their specific programs, that's when you get to pick your coach. Where coming to Take Notes, I don't think that it's correct for you to like not be able to pick your coach if you're spending all this money. I think that giving the option of the specific coach that you want, it's very, very important for the player base that is coming and wanting our services. And if for some reason, like I said before, if you take a session with one of our coaches and you don't feel like that they were the correct coach, you can always just get a different coach, and we will always make time for you, even if it's like a little bit down the road. Since right now I have a lot of students I'm coaching, we will make time for you, and we base our coaching sessions off your schedule and not ours.
Yeah.
So we are very, very flexible with our schedules and dates that we can help coach you.
It's kind of like this podcast. I mean, you made some time out for me, so I really appreciate you doing that.
Oh, it's no problem. Once again, like I want to pretty much help as much as I can for anyone, especially if they're wanting to learn. Like even like history of the game or like just my insights or anything like that, like you are wanting. Like I try to make time as much as possible and help people because, like I said, like the game's not fun if if everyone's just bad. Like I want people to get better. I want
Yeah.
like I don't want to go to a YCS And for the first 8 rounds, I don't want to be like, oh, this is free. Like,
Yeah.
sure, I may get unlucky one round, sure, by like bricking or something, but
Mhm.
I want to actually have a challenge like before round 8, like rounds 1 through 3, this is where you'll probably play all the casual people. But after round 3, I want all my matches to be hard. I want to feel some sort of accomplishment whenever I actually do top the YCS, instead of like just like getting on my plane to go to a YCS and be like, okay, I know for a fact I'm topping this YCS. I
Yep.
don't want that. I want to have like some sort of randomization and like RNG to where like I don't know if I'm going to top and actually have to like be more serious about it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because even though like you're one of the top players, like you still need to develop your own skill and your own game as well, as this game keeps evolving. So that's something you need to do, and by doing that, you need to offer yourself some competition. I mean, that's kind of the trouble of being on top of the food chain. Like who are you going to learn from? You got to learn from yourself, but you got to learn from others who get better and better, and then you kind of build off each other. So I think that's a great way for you to kind of develop yourself in the process as you help others as well. And this is kind of the result of what we're getting.
Right. Like everything that you just said like is 100% correct. Like being at the top is very lonely, as a lot of people would say. Like even though I don't consider myself like the best player in the game right now, I think I'm definitely like top 3 right now. People argue that Jesse's better than me right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely arguments for both sides where I could be better than Jesse or Jesse's better than me. Even though like he has a couple more like better credentials, being like an extra win on top. But there's still like a whole bunch of time, a whole bunch of improvement that can be found here. Like because I find myself a lot like also like talking to Jesse sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and pretty much like asking like his thoughts on like a current format or like a set that's coming out, and pretty much just picking the brain of like someone that I feel is potentially better, if not pretty much an equal to me.
And that's what I like seeing from the better players, is that they're not so ego driven by themselves. Like they know that they can always still work on themselves, and they would still like to pick the brains of others because they want to improve. I like to see that attitude in other players, and we're starting to go through this kind of shift now where before we never had like really coaching or anything like that, and now all of a sudden you've got it. We have Duelist Academy that's got it now, and now we're spreading this information. We're trying to make Yu-Gi-Oh a much more competitive game now, because it used to be so hard to master this game. Now you could take about a good half a year, and all of a sudden you could be really up there now.
Right, and if like people don't actually think that, oh, you can't be that good in like half a year or something. Like there's results right now. Like one of my friends, Pack, he started the game probably about 10 months ago, and he's already won a PPG event, like their PPG Nationals.
Yeah.
After that, he got 17th at Vegas at the Team YCS, even only playing the game for 4 months.
Mhm.
And like even now, like his stream, like it's popping off. Like he's getting better and better by the day, every single day, and like it's very impressive to see how fast like he's learning. Like it just goes to show like the amount of time you put into the game and how pretty much driven you are
Mhm.
can actually show how much you can rapidly improve based on your motivation.
Yeah, I've definitely seen you on his channel a couple times there, and he didn't start too long ago either on YouTube. I think it was about roughly like 5-6 months ago where he came on, and then all of a sudden he started to burst onto the scene as well. So it's not that uncommon to see somebody relatively new start to break out and really make it onto the dueling scene that quickly.
Right? It's not common at all. Like, it's actually very uncommon to see someone like just start playing and then just out of nowhere become like someone that like casual players or even like good players can like look up to for motivation. Because there's been countless people already that have been getting back into the game after just watching like how good Pack has become in just this short time. People like Pack actually give like the more casual people and the more relaxed people like motivation to like actually get back into the game and like
Mhm.
wanting to take it seriously, because if Pat can do it, anyone can do it.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not saying that Pat's like bad or anything, but I'm saying like he was just a normal guy. He was just a normal guy that got into the game just for the sole purpose of like vending it because he
Mhm.
saw a market in it. And then all of a sudden he started playing the game and actually he's like, oh wow, I like this game a lot. I can be good at this.
Mhm.
So he put in the time. He's become exceptionally good at the game. And now we have all these people that played like 5 or 6 years ago looking at PAX YouTube now that see it on their newsfeed or in like Zodiac Duelist or something, clicking
Mhm.
on his channel, seeing that he is this good now and he only started playing like not too long ago. And all these people that haven't like been playing him forever just like, oh wow, I actually I want to play again. This is giving me motivation to play again, and I want to be good at the game again. And yeah, there's a big learning curve,
Mhm.
especially not playing the game for that long with everything that's come out in most recent years. But it's not so much that you can't overcome it if you put the determination into it.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's because he's got perseverance. That's why he's doing really well in the game in such a short amount of time because he's actually working on it. And I've spoken with a lot of like pro players as of late, and they say they work on this game for like hours and hours upon end. I mean, I can't give myself that much time as of late because I have my own career that I have to handle. And I have a lot of other things to do in my life, uh, but like the people that actually persevere and put a lot of time to it, the results really show when you put it into this game. I think that's definitely a factor you have to have if you want to be able to succeed in this game.
Right. And then something that I've noticed as well, like recently, is that if you want to be good at the game, then you'll get good at the game. Like someone can't be like for instance, you go to your locals and you're wanting to get better. You can't make someone like in your friend group or your locals to want to get better. That's something that that individual person has to want on their own.
Yeah.
Like you can't just make someone want to get better. Like if they don't want to, then they're just not going to want. Like they're not going to get better. Like that's something that people need to understand as well.
It's true, and it's exactly that because I'm sure we all have another hobby that's kind of similar to that. Like we don't put as much time in it. We just like to play it casually. Like for example, I love playing Street Fighter, but I'm a casual Street Fighter player. I'm not as fantastic or anything. But like Yu-Gi-Oh, of course, I put a lot more time. But I'm sure everyone else has that kind of hobby or that kind of interest where they just like it casually, and they obviously don't want to be as good at it as some other game or some other skill that they have.
Right, and like even for me, like I have different hobbies as well. Like I play League of Legends, I
Mm-hmm.
play Team Fight Tactics, I play Valorant,
Mm-hmm.
but I definitely don't put enough time into those games as I do into Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, and I am going to assume that your best game out of all those is going to be Yu-Gi-Oh because of the time that you put into it.
Right, like back whenever I used to play those games more seriously, like League of Legends, I wasn't putting enough time into Yu-Gi-Oh, and it definitely showed that I wasn't like playing at Yu-Gi-Oh as much, but it was showing that I was playing. Like for instance, whenever I was playing League, it started to show. It's literally just as much time as you put into the game, the results you'll see, and how effective, like your time that you're putting into it, how it's being used.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more on that. I mean, that's the reason why I don't play any other card games. Like I know the basics of Magic. I know how to play Pokemon, but when I ever like pick up a card on those games, I just think I could be playing Yu-Gi-Oh right now and getting better with that, and that's what I would rather do instead because I love that game a lot more. It's that kind of mentality that I have. That's why I only focus on one card game.
Right, and like I said before, like you can't make someone want to get better at the game. They have to do it themselves. So if they're putting like their time into a different hobby, then that's what they want to do. Like you can't force them to be like, okay, you need to play Yu-Gi-Oh now and get better. Like you can't tell someone that like they have to do that on their own.
Yeah, that's definitely a good way to put it and get yourself better. So, again, it's the perseverance. That's what it comes down to. It comes down, and then using the tools that you have at your disposal to make yourself better. Now, it's not just pure perseverance, but that's just a big factor in making yourself better. And I think that's really good advice to tell everyone out there who wants to get better. Is just put more time and effort into the game, and you'll be a lot better for sure.
Right, and like even nowadays, like we have so many different resources at our disposal that we don't really even know what to do. Like back in the day, back in like whenever like I was starting to become more competitive back in like 2010, 2011. Like back then we only had like Pojo and Duelist Grounds at the
Yep.
time. Like and the YCS like Konami blog. Like that's all we had. Where now we have YouTube, we have Twitch, we have coaching programs, we have Dueling Book where you can actually go back and analyze your replays and
Mhm.
get different opinions on it. Like we have so many different resources now that people just don't take advantage of, and it's actually just mind blowing for the people who actually want to get better but don't pretty much that they don't utilize the tools that are given to them to
Mhm.
how they should be used.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the way that like the world is kind of moving forward now, because you're seeing like a lot of players now are they're getting older, they're having more responsibilities, they're getting out of college, they're graduating from college and whatnot, getting real jobs, so they don't have as much time to put back then as they used to be. But now that we have all these resources, it kind of accelerates everything. So kind of getting competitive in this game is couldn't be more easier, in my opinion.
Right, I agree because like it doesn't take much time. Like for instance, when you're about to go to sleep, laying down in your bed, getting on your phone, going to YouTube, and watching like 4 to 5 Yu-Gi-Oh videos before you go to sleep.
Mhm.
Like doing that like goes a long way because if you're doing this every night, you're pretty much learning a lot just by doing this. Like this simple small task every night because like people, like everyone, almost every single person will be like, I'm going to sleep. I'm laying down in my bed. And
Mhm.
what they do immediately, they get on their phone, they scroll through Facebook, they start getting on YouTube to fall asleep.
And yeah, I was doing that actually over the weekend because you happened to be at the Remote Duel Invitational that happened this past weekend for North America, and you came second place. Great job, by the way. Congratulations on that. And I wanted you to just speak more on how that experience was for you.
So going into this remote duel, like I got a message about a month before from Konami asking for me to be a part of it. So obviously I was like, thank you, I appreciate this. I will play in this. Um, Going into it though, like I didn't think it was going to be like that great,
Mhm.
just based off like the remote duel scene that I've seen.
Mhm.
But it was actually a really fun experience. It felt like I was at an event. Like we would go, we'd play our matches, and after every match, we'd go to the general lobby in Discord, and we pretty much just all talk about how our rounds went. And
Mhm.
it felt like I was at an event. I was walking around, and I found my friends, and we pretty much got in the circle that every friend group does at YCS. Is we got in a circle and we started talking about
Yep.
our rounds, and
Yep.
it made me feel like I was at an actual event, and I was really happy with how it turned out.
Was it a good like substitute for attending like a real life event, getting to travel at least for the time being until the whole pandemic is over?
It's probably the best thing you could get to right now as COVID is going around because
Mhm.
nothing's going to pretty much like replace the fact of you being able to like get on a plane, travel, or even like getting in a car with all your friends and driving to an event and
Mhm.
spending a weekend out inside a different state, actually being able to explore it. Like nothing's going to be able to pretty much mimic that experience, but for what we have right now and under the conditions, I think it was the best um the best option we have, and I'm really grateful for that.
It was really treated a lot as if it was like a large sporting event. I mean, you had your Konami reps there acting as your play by play and color commentators and whatnot. You got to get those audio interactions between yourself and your opponent, and they really took it to the next level with those remote duels. It certainly blew my expectations when I first saw it. I mean, I'm sure it blew your expectations as a player.
Right, because like once I got all the equipment in the mail, I was like, "Whoa, this is like so much equipment that I'm needing to set up. They're actually taking this seriously," and I was really surprised about that. Like how serious they wanted us to be with it.
What did they send you exactly?
So they sent me like headsets, lights, cameras, um, arm bars to be able to pretty much position your camera above you, directly above you, so you could broadcast your field to your opponent to play. They sent me sleeves, they sent me dice, they sent me a goodie bag with like the mat and different things. And they sent me pretty much everything you would need except for a computer to be
Yeah,
able
of course.
to play in this, and a deck. You have to provide your own deck.
Yeah, I guess I saw you had a nice little Starlight Rare triple tactics in there. I'm like, oh, that's showing off some bling. I saw you play one of those during the stream.
Right, and like I said, I don't really own cards. I pretty much just borrow cards from my sponsors because I don't really like owning cards, and
Yep.
like pretty much the whole deck like came from Pack once again.
Oh,
Like
nice.
Pack being a good friend of mine, he let me borrow everything I needed,
Mhm.
because a lot of stuff happened like with the mailing and the postal office, so I had to get a deck pretty fast, and he was able to pretty much help me out in that short period of time.
Does he live close to you? And because I know you're from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, if I recall correctly.
Right, I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and Pack is from New Jersey.
Okay, so a little ways off.
Yeah, just a little. He had to overnight like the entire deck to me,
Oh,
and I
wow.
was so happy. Like I said, I can't thank Pack enough for how good of a friend he is to me.
Hmm. And I'm assuming you're gonna keep everything that Konami gave you for those Remote Duel Invitationals.
I'm actually trying to move a lot of it. Since I top forward, I get like a lot of stuff that I don't really like need to move.
Hmm.
Mainly since I got second, I'm pretty much giving like a trophy to be able to remember this by.
Yep.
And for me, I don't really keep things from events unless like it's something like a trophy,
Yeah.
like for the memorabilia for this certain event. And for this event, I'm going to be keeping the plaque, the trophy from it, to be able to like remember this event with, since like this wasn't supposed to happen. Like COVID was not supposed to happen and make it so no one could play.
Right.
So pretty much, I feel like this is like being able to hold like a piece of history in the game for me,
That's
and
true.
and it's almost like you can't really monetize the like things like this. Like it's so it's so special and unique of its kind that you can't really put a dollar sign on it.
Yeah, and I'm going to guess that's the same with your WCQ trophy as well that you won last year. I'm sure it's posted up somewhere in your room.
Right. I always keep the trophies that I win. For me, I keep my YCS and my nationals trophy behind me in my stream. So whenever like you see me streaming, you would be able to see both of the trophies behind me on my end table by my bed.
Yeah. And same with me. Like I have some like pieces of memorabilia from like some of my biggest wins. Like I have the mat that when I topped my only YCS, I've won several like OTS championships. I won a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh days. Like I kind of have those items. At least the first ones anyway, and the rest of them I'll just kind of pass them off because you've already been there before, that kind of thing. But yeah, like I'm sure everyone who's won something big at least has some kind of memorabilia. It's just some are a little bit more prestigious than others. I don't quite have a national trophy, unlike you, sir. But but I'm sure that again, like it's a big piece of history that you got to be a part of, and especially since this was an invite from Konami. Like they reached out to other people. It wasn't like you signing up. You got to be selected among like a prestigious like 16 players, and you got to be a whole part of that. So that had to be a big honor for yourself.
Right. And like for people that got invited, like if you were to say no to this, then I think it'd be the same, like the equivalent of you like pretty much like slapping Konami in the face. Like
Yeah.
it's just so disrespectful not to accept an offer like this after being recognized as like one of the better players in the game right now.
Yeah, absolutely. That it's nice to see that Konami kind of has that not foresight, but they have that awareness to like who their good players are, like who we want to extend out to, because like you don't want to you don't want to put out like an open invite and just have like a bunch of no names going on this. If you want to make this special, they wanted to get like some of the best of the best, and you happen to be one of them, and you did quite well for yourself in that tournament as well.
Right. I was really fortunate to be able to get even to the finals and being able to pretty much play against all these big name players once again outside of like online platforms like Dueling Book. Like being able to actually like see the people I'm playing against and see like their hands and their physical cards, like being able to play with like was very special for me.
Yeah, so why don't you walk me through then your entire tournament experience doing this remote duel invitationals? Like tell me, like ring off, like who did you play? Like how were you feeling during those times? Because I know you had to play Jesse Cotton in semifinals, so I'm sure that had to be a different feeling from who you had to play everyone else with. So kind of walk me along here. So from round one, let's build our way to the top here.
Okay, so for the tournament, I played the Adamant's Payer deck simply because I think it's the best deck. In events like this, I'm going to play what I think is the hosted the remote duels, so that they have a good reason to be able to ban certain cards. So also playing Adamant's Payer, I was giving myself the like pretty much the option to get Block Dragon banned, which I think that it will get banned soon on the ban list.
Yep.
So round one, I played against who did I play? I played against Shu Ping.
Oh, yep.
He's one of the better players in the game right now as well. Like right before COVID hit, he won the last UDS ever, and he with him in at the YCS Vegas at the team event, and we got top 8 there.
Yep.
So the last 2 events that happened, he won and he got top 8 at. So my round one, I played against him. He was playing his Dragon Link deck that he pretty much brought to light and is known for currently right now. So I played against him. I lost the die roll. And my deck choices with me being able to main deck hand traps pretty much pulled me through game one. Game two, he went first. I didn't open enough to be able to stop him. And then game three, I just did my full combo and won. Round two, I played against Aaron Furman, another big name, another multiple event winner, YCS winner.
Yep.
YCS and UDS winner, actually. I played against him. I lost the die roll, and I won game one because he bricked, and then game two, I pretty much just drew Lightning Storm and won off of that. Round three, I played against Blair Hunter. He hasn't really been like on the radar lately, even though like he's a very, very good player.
He really is.
I lost the die roll to him. He was playing Infernoble, and then game one, I lost, and then game two, I pretty much did my full rock board. No one's going to break my rock board unless they draw Dark Ruler. Yep. And then game three, he did his full combo and ripped Dark Ruler out of my hand with Smoke Grenade, and I was able to push through his whole board with Pankratops, and I pretty much won that turn because of how good my hand was. And then round four, the final round, I played against Sam. We're both undefeated, so we're already guaranteed.
Yep.
And I won the die roll. I won the die roll this time, but he wanted me to go first anyway. And at this time, I didn't know. I didn't know that he wanted me to go first.
Yep.
So, game one, I did my full board, and he didn't have a hand trap. Game two, he made me go first, and I sided in all my going second cards, so I lost. And then game three, I whiffed off all my my Adamantipator guys, and I got hit with Gamma Imperm. So I lost there. That was it for day one. I came in, I believe, third.
Third, yeah. You were behind Cotton because I think Cotton was 301. You were the best. You were the best 3 in X1.
Right.
Because I think Levine was the one who couldn't make any, even though he was 3-1.
Yeah, he got fifth, sadly, and then Cam got fourth.
Yeah.
So for top four, I played against Jesse, as you guys saw in the feature match. I played against Jesse. Game one, I pretty much just pushed through all of his hand traps. He had 2 hand traps, and I still made my full board, and he couldn't come back from that. Game two, what happened game two? He set up, I believe he set up a whole bunch of back row, and I opened a pretty weak hand, if I remember correctly. I opened a weak hand, and he was able to outgrind me.
Mhm.
And then game 3, my opening hand was Red Reboot, Block Dragon, Kawaki Mirror Guardian, Triple Tactics, and Forbidden Droplets. I opened very, very bad.
It-
So I just summoned my Guardian, revealed the Block Dragon, and set my Forbidden Droplets on my Red Reboot.
Mhm.
He starts off with Extravagance, he nadirs and pops my Guardian with Natis, and he sets 3 back row and has Ecclesia with Fluer in hand. No, he does have Fluer in hand. He searched for punishment. So he has 3 set, 3 in hand, and Ecclesia.
Mhm.
I draw for turn. I drew it Analyzer. So I special Analyzer. He tries the punishment on the summon. I Red Reboot him. Next, I try to use Analyzer effect. It gets ashed. I Tactical Talents his monster to take control of it.
Mhm.
And at this point, I'm reading that he has Gamma in hand. So I use the effect. I don't use the effect. I overlay into Granite, reading that he has Gamma in hand.
Mhm.
I use Granite, and he Gammas me. So whenever he does that, I banish the 3 Earths from my graveyard since I now have it. And I use my Forbidden Droplets that I still had set to tribute
Ooh.
the Block Dragon
Yeah,
and
nice.
target the Gamma, and then search for my rock cards. And I still hadn't normal summoned yet, so I just normal my Guardian. And I had Seeker and Researcher in hand, so I just pretty much put 8,000 damage on board after
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, because I know they mentioned on the stream that the Red Reboot, that was the card that pretty much turned it around. Because I remember at that point in time, he had like 4 traps in his back row, but he couldn't play a single one just because you played that Reboot, and you just he was like dead to rights at that point. Not something you see Cotton be in a position of most of the time, but that felt really weird to say. But nonetheless, that you caught him in that position, and that's how you're able to take him down.
Right. Like me being able to pretty much like play Jesse on stream, since there's a big debate of who's better right now, and me and Jesse. Like being able to play him on stream and getting the win was really I was really happy about that. Like to pretty much try to prove people wrong that I'm the better player,
Mhm.
possibly. Maybe give people like actually making it so the people that think there's no other like person that's near Jesse's level right now being able to see that and potentially have second thoughts about it. That was very nice in my opinion. And then
Yeah.
in the finals, you just see me play against Sam, and yeah, I didn't draw block all 3 games, and yeah, it was really bad.
Yeah, because I know game 1 he just kind of got it. I think he fought through Nibiru, I believe, but because he didn't really have any steam after that Nibiru. But I know game 2 you just had a full combo and he just scooped really quickly, and then game 3 again it was another big grind between you two.
Right. Yeah, Sam opened Imperm Gamma once again in our game 3,
Mhm.
and my opening hand was Tackle Crusader. No, yeah, Tackle Crusader, Seeker, and 3 Adhara.
Mhm.
So I
Well,
wasn't
right.
really able to do anything at all there,
Yeah,
sadly.
yeah, because once you got Gamma, that was pretty much your turn. You were just stopped dead in your point because you had no extenders.
Right, like him imperming Seeker and then gamming my Neofiber was very, very rough, and I wasn't able to do anything.
Mm-hmm. How did it feel being able to play in the semifinals and finals of that Remote Duel Invitational that you made that top cut?
Oh, it was really fun, actually. Like it pretty much made me feel like I was playing on a feature match more so. Like even though it technically was a feature match, but it felt like I was on stage at a YCS playing
Mhm.
on feature match once again, and it was really, really fun. Like
Did you? Yep. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, that was it. Sorry.
Oh, did you feel like it was more relaxed playing on like the Remote Duel, or you think it was a little bit more pressure added on it, or just about the same?
It was pretty much the same. Even though I don't really get nervous as much anymore because I've tried to train myself to that. Because the more nervous you are in a setting, the more likely it is for you to mess up
Mm-hmm.
and misplay. So I would say it was about the same because even though like I'm not in front of a crowd, like I personally know like in the back of my head like there's like 5,000 people watching me right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing as whenever I stream. Like I know that there's like this many people watching me. So I don't need to look dumb, or else I'm not going to hear the end of it.
Yeah, because you've had enough experience with it already that you've kind of broadcasted yourself in front of an audience. Is that you're not completely numb to it, you're not like immune to it, but you definitely developed a resistance at that point in time.
Right. Being able to develop a resistance is very, very important in the game.
Yeah, and that's kind of like me with my journalism. Like when I'm in front of the camera for sports, I have to do a lot of things off the cuff because I have to call it as I see it. But the more and more you do it, the more and more you're comfortable with it. Sure, you might make a slip up here. Sure, you might have a bit of nerves, but they don't prevalent as much when you've done it again and again. I'm sure that's the situation for you since you're consistently either on Twitch or you're just having a feature match online.
Right. Like being able to pretty much get used to these types of nerves after being able to like play all these feature matches on pretty much broadcast on Twitch every single weekday. It definitely makes it so you're kind of numb to the experience, so that you don't get nervous as much, which definitely helps for sure. And like I say like you don't get nervous as much, but like if you saw my finals match, you could see how nervous Sam was being there because he hasn't really been in that sort of spot before. Yeah, he's definitely like he's streaming videos, but it's not the same as it is live while playing and being able to be criticized for something like that.
Yeah, that's true, and you don't really see him a whole lot on like the actual like Yu-Gi-Oh streams itself. So like he puts the spotlight on himself. He chooses when to put the spotlight on. But when he's getting the spotlight on him, like out of it, that's a completely like different realm for him, and you don't really see them. So and you notice that he also made like a play error when he was playing against you. You played the double evolution pill when he didn't have a non-dinosaur to banish. You could tell that there were some early jitters in him when he was playing you.
Exactly, and even after that, he tried to pop a the baby alligator guy. I
Yeah,
keep forgetting the name of it,
I,
but
I
he tried
forget
to
to.
pop. But yeah, he tried to pop one in hand as well, which you couldn't do. So that was like really important, and it showed like how nervous you can get. Where if you watch mine and Jesse's match, like we have our poker faces on, we're very calm, and nothing's really getting to us.
Yeah, because I noticed that with you and Cotton, like you don't really put a big expression out. I mean, there's some players are a little bit more talkative, a little more friendly. Like for example, you might see it in professional poker, like Daniel Negreanu, he'll talk like crazy, and that's kind of like how Sam is, as opposed to you and Jesse. You're just stone cold faces. Like you're still having fun, of course, but you're putting on that face like I'm ready to play. You kind of take it a little more serious than normal, and that's just a different style. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just how it is. But there's definitely like a personality change on it when you're on stream and having to play in front of like hundreds and thousands of people.
Right. And like I think since you mentioned like poker, right? I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of like similarities from poker to Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there's this very big saying in poker is everything you do at the table conveys information. It's the same thing as Yu-Gi-Oh! Like everything you do, whether it be looking at a card too long, check a set too long, or even like move your hand near like a card, like a face down card too much. All this gives off information that your opponent can take advantage of.
Right. And I absolutely agree with you. That's a big reason why like I haven't really dipped into the remote duels yet, and I love playing in person because I love those like extra little psychological things that happen. Like for example, when people setting a bunch of back rows, I typically notice that the first back row that people set, that's the one that they don't care that gets destroyed. Now that's like usually the chainable one that they want destroyed. It's just psychological things like that I tend to see, and you can't really get that online aside from doing remote duels, and that's a part of the game that I really love doing.
Right. I really like because for me as a player, I think that's one of the things for me personally that shines. Like me being able to read back row that easily, just based off of like how my opponent is acting in these sorts of situations, or whenever I say something, or depending on how fast they play a card, or any of this, like being able to pretty much determine like what they have based on these types of movements and these mannerisms. Like I think that's what separates me from a lot of other people. And like it's not very easy to do either. But like even during like whenever I used to coach in real life, like whenever I would coach someone, I would always play a game with them first. And whenever I would play a game with them, I would literally, because the people coming to me don't really aren't as good as me, or else they wouldn't be coming to me.
Yeah.
So with them, like me playing against them, they get nervous, right? They get nervous because they know that they're going to be critiqued, and whenever like I would play against them, like I could literally, because they were all the same, they would be very loose and pretty much play like not tight at all, if that makes sense. And they would like start setting cards, and whenever they would set cards and like pass turn, I would literally point at the back rows and tell them exactly what cards they said, just based off of like their mannerisms and how they acted and what card they were looking at and all of this. And it just blew their mind every time. This is like something that I think I take a lot of pride in, like being able to determine these sorts of things, being able to read cards. Even though it's not always worked out, but most of the time it does, just based off of like all the knowledge that I've gained throughout the years, being able to like hone my skills to do this type of thing. And people every time I do that, that's when like people are like, I came to the right guy, right? I want to be able to do what he just did to me.
And I make a lot of reads like that at my locals as well. Like usually I'll try to call out a card before like before like the card has to be revealed for some strange reason. I like to do that a lot. And you notice you get those kind of tendencies on the way like players play, players react, as you said, touch their cards and whatnot. And do you think that that's like a huge factor in separating like the good from the great?
I definitely think it's one of the factors for sure. I don't know how big of a factor it does like play into the grand scheme of things, but I definitely think it plays at least a little bit of a factor into it, where it can definitely end up winning you a game or losing you a game sometimes.
Enough to at least make a difference in some sense of the word.
Yeah, just like some sort of sense, yeah, for sure.
So going over to like being on stream and whatnot, you have your own Twitch channel. You've got over 4,000 followers, which actually is a high number for a Twitch streamer yourself. Tell me more about what you do on your channel.
So for me, I've been streaming for about 10 months now or something like that. But thankfully for me, I was very fortunate to have some sort of following before, based on like my appearances at YCS's, and like pretty much like a fan base already. So I was a lot more fortunate than other people starting out. But for me, what I go over in a usual stream for me is me answering questions that chat has, pretty much showing them like what I think the best deck is, or what I'm playing in the optimal build that I think the deck should be, and me playing usually like dueling book rated. I play against some viewers sometimes about this. I play old formats, and I just try to have a good time while also educating my chat.
Is there anything else you do aside from just playing on Dueling Book and playing your viewers?
I sometimes I usually just play. I There's a lot of times as well that I'll do like Q&As for the viewers. So for instance, it like one stream that I had recently, I didn't play Dueling Book at all because the format was just awful at the time, and Rise of the Duelist wasn't out yet. So for me, I didn't do anything at all. I just like I didn't play. I pretty much just sat back in my chair and I let chat ask me questions, and I answered them for like 4 hours straight.
Wow. Got it. So it's a nice way for you to be able to kind of give back to the community, because I'm sure there's like when you have your take notes program, and I'm sure there's a lot of players out there who are like relatively new or just want to get better, that they have an outlet to be able to just ask the better players these questions. And you don't want to come off like this high-end jerk because you're at the top of your game. Like, you're actually like giving back to the Yu-Gi-Oh community, though, which I think is a really good thing that you're doing out here, because it's something that we're seeing more of nowadays, which is great. But before, we didn't really have that outlet, and it's nice to see you kind of provide that outlet for those who want to get better.
Right. Like I said before, like my Twitch is just to pretty much make people better.
Mhm.
And if they want to like sub to me or something because they feel like that I've helped them in some sort of way, I appreciate that. Even though it's not like necessary, I do appreciate that every
Mhm.
time. Being able to do this like makes me feel very good about myself because from what I've noticed in the Yu-Gi-Oh community, like I don't really like Yu-Gi-Oh players that much
Mhm.
because the usually Yu-Gi-Oh players are egomaniacs. Is why. You go to an event, you see people with like all their Supreme stuff, all their like Yeezys on, and all this designer type stuff.
Mhm.
Not there to really play, but to pretty much like look down on people for a
Mhm.
lot of times. And I just don't understand like why are you going to a Yu-Gi-Oh event to like try to flex on people and make people feel like beneath you.
Mhm.
Like for me, I want interact with people. Like I like this stuff. I don't play the game to like really play the game. I play the game to like travel and make friends and hang out with people and like
Mhm.
make people like if I can go to an event and have at least one person say that I made their event and it was worth going to the event just to meet me, then
Mhm.
my entire trip's filled already. Like I'm already happy and I feel like it was a good trip no matter how I do it in the event.
Yeah, so I absolutely love traveling for events, and I've made so many close friends with this game, and I'm sure everyone else has. My best friend, who he doesn't even play Yu-Gi anymore, but he happens. I met him through Yu-Gi-Oh. We've played together a lot, and now like we've been best friends for 12 years now. So, and I'm sure you have a similar experience where you have a lot of close friends that you met through Yu-Gi-Oh, and you still retain to this day, even if they don't play Yu-Gi-Oh anymore.
Right. Like a lot of my friends, like almost all my friends I've made are is through the game. Like
Mm-hmm.
almost every single one. And like even if they don't play anymore, I still usually talk to a lot of them. Like
Mm-hmm.
depending on how good of friends we were. And like just based on this, it goes to show that Yu-Gi-Oh is just more than a game. Honestly,
It really is.
it's more than just a hobby. It's like you make so many different types of friends along the way. And that's like why I play the game.
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with you. I mean, there's so many experiences that this game provides for you, not just playing the game, but like the travel thing is a big thing too. Because like for example, I go to Philadelphia for YCS. Finally, get to have a Philly cheesesteak for the first time in my life, like an Philly cheesesteak, something I would have never had if I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh at all. And again, like this game is so wonderful for doing these kinds of things. It truly is more than a game, and I can understand why some people take it more seriously than for it just being a game. It's an actual competition, and people like yourself, treat it that way. But again, there's so many pluses on the other side when you work at this so hard, and it's paid off for you. I'm going to assume.
Yeah, it's definitely paid off for me. Like even like you were saying, being able to travel, like without Yu-Gi-Oh, I don't think I would have ever like went to anywhere other than like the surrounding states near me. And I don't even know why I would have went to these states if I didn't have Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Well,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
well. Speaking of which, of travel, like you were at the last year's Worlds in Berlin because you won the. So that definitely had to have been a surreal experience for you, I would guess, because you got to go there as a representative of North America. You're the reigning champion, and you got to go sightseeing in Berlin for a day or two.
Right, like being able to like I would have never thought I would have been able to go to Europe. But
Mm-hmm.
Yu-Gi-Oh actually allowed this. And whenever I went to Europe, I made so many different friends. And like even the people that I talked to on Dueling Book that live in Europe, I was able
Mm-hmm.
to meet a lot of these people and be able to come face to face with them for the first time. Like whenever usually I probably would never have been able to do that. And like that just goes to show how like this game can change like your life and like for the better a lot of the times because like I've been to 47 states. I've
Mm-hmm.
been to Canada and I've been like to Europe now and South America, all for this game. And I can't I can't thank the game enough for this at all. Like this like it's just so surreal like being able to say that yeah, I've been to almost every single state in the US for this card game that I started playing whenever I was 6 years old.
Yeah, and it's a big reason why it's hard to drop this game, because it's done so much positive things for us that like we don't want it to stop. Like I don't want this to stop. I want to keep being able to travel to events, meeting new people, being with my friends that I get to see like every so often for a big event. I want to keep doing that, and I'm sure you share the same sentiments as I do.
I definitely still want to like to play this game,
Mhm.
even if like stop playing this game for some reason. I feel like I'm still going to travel to events just to hang out with friends.
Yeah, because I that's a very common thing I see too, even in my regionals and for YCSs, like especially if they're like in the hometown of them. Like I see familiar faces that would just pop out of nowhere that I haven't seen for years and years, and it's such a pleasure to see these people just kind of come out. People really bring Yu-Gi-Oh together, and that's one thing I love about this game.
Exactly. And I think that this hobby is better than other hobbies as well, just because of the aspect of being able to travel. Where in other card games as well, like Pokemon and Magic, uh, all card games really share the same experience. Same thing with video games. Like if you are serious about playing a video game or a card game, you're going to be able to travel. And that's just one of the perks that comes with having a hobby such as this.
It really is. And being able to travel, make new friends, and there's so many different experiences you get to go to. And I'm also like a big foodie as well, so I love to go like eating at new places as well. And like if there's like something special that city's known for, like again the Philly cheesesteak, for example, like or if I go to Boston, I have a hot dog at Fenway Park, Fenway Frank. That's something I want to do when I'm out there. That's a
Ex-
big thing.
Exactly. Like me, I'm also like a big food advocate whenever I go to these events. Like for instance, like you said, whenever go to Philly, I get the Philly cheesesteak, or whenever I go to Chicago, I get the Giordano's. Uh,
The deep dish.
yes, the deep dish Chicago style pizza.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I go to Vegas, I go to Hell's Kitchen. Like all these different places. Like even though like the food may be expensive because it's going to be expensive because you're a tourist, like it's just worth more than like not doing this and having the experience this way.
Yeah, because it's also an experience you can share that people who don't play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like you can also go like in a food adventure as well as you travel. I mean, that's what Sam does as well, because he has his own like alternate like food YouTube channel, and he also does that as well in conjunction with his Yu-Gi-Oh. So I mean, it's something you can also relate to as well to like the common person. It's like, oh yeah, I went to this restaurant, I got to eat this, and it's something you can mark off your own bucket list as well.
Right? Because like there's so many people that are just like, oh, I wish I could go here to like, I wish I could go in New York. I've never been on a plane before. I wish I
Mm-hmm.
could go to like Philadelphia or Dallas or Vegas and all these places. And then like even people that I've never met before that are like friends of friends, and I'm like, yeah, those places are nice. And they're like, oh, you've been, and then like, yeah, it's my profession. I play Yu-Gi-Oh, and I go to all these places, and then they're like, "Oh, wow, that's really cool, actually."
Yeah, it's almost like we're athletes in a sense. We're on the road traveling to perform at big events, and it's kind of like what this is.
Exactly, because like for me, like Yu-Gi-Oh is my full-time job right now.
Mhm.
Like streaming and then also coaching is my full-time job. And
Mhm.
whenever people say like ask me like what I do or like what's my job, I tell them I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh coach and a streamer.
Mhm.
They think that's really cool, and but they a lot of the times they don't really believe me whenever I say that's enough to live on at all.
Yeah, but this is kind of what like the world's kind of moving towards a bit now, because you can now make a career off being this influencer, being this streamer, being professional in just one game now. And then I've talked to several people who have made this a profession, like Triff, for example. He just quit his job last month and doing full time, and then as you're just telling me now, you're doing this full time too now and making a career out of it. So I mean, good on you, man. If you can like maximize your skill to be able to like make a living off this, go for it, man. Like I have no objection to this whatsoever, and I think it's fantastic that you're able to do this and make it as your living.
Exactly, because like even though like I'm still young, I still have a lot of like time to figure out what I want to do in my life. And like the thing is, like if this doesn't work out, I can always just go and get a real job.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say a real job, even I this is still a real job, but like a more generic job that people consider a quote unquote real job.
Yeah, a more recognizable job, more
Yes.
recognizable career. Yeah. If you mind if I ask, have you? How old are you, first of all?
I am 23 years old. I turn 24 next month.
Did you go to college at all?
So I didn't go to college because I did go to college, but I had to drop out due to um my mom's health
Okay.
and help
Yeah.
her out.
Yeah. I've seen that before, and like I've had classmates that have had to drop out because of like health issues. That's perfectly normal thing, nothing to be ashamed of. But and just a quick share a quick anecdote of myself about all this. Like I keep telling people, you know what? I went to college immediately after high school. I dropped out twice in 3 years. Took me 6 years to decide to go back to college again. Did another 4 years, and now I've graduated. And now my degree in philosophy and journalism now. So and this is where I'm at this point in time. So there's always plenty of time, especially for someone at your age, to be able to like think through and on what you really want to do in life and get back to it. It's not too late. You have a lot of time on your hands. So I mean, if you do decide to drop it, you still have time to go back to school and do whatever you want, make a career out of it. But if you can make a career out of this now, I mean, more power to you, man. There's no shame, no problem with that at all.
Exactly. Like being like people always say like for the people that like the older type of audience that pretty much are like 50 years old and yeah, they're able to retire in like 5 years. But the main thing that I always hear about them that they regret is not being able to live like their younger years to the fullest and like worrying about money whenever they were that like kids whenever they like were just working their 9 to 5 job trying to like pretty much save up so they could retire early and then
Mm-hmm.
do all this stuff when they're older. But the thing is like the whenever you're younger, that's like when you're in your most you're like your best form. And
Mm-hmm.
like whenever you're younger, you can't get those years back.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just never can. And that's the biggest thing that I see people complain about. Is like they didn't like party enough when they were younger, or like they didn't travel enough and all this because they were working so much. And I don't want to have that regret.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that one because I told myself, well, first of all, I'm 32 years old, turning 33 in November, and I told myself I didn't really want to have children until I was at least in my 30s because I wanted to live through my 20s. I wanted to have that fun. I wanted to go out and travel, have that experience, and now that I'm a little bit older, I don't mind starting to settle down a bit more. But yeah, I agree with you, man. I'm in my 20s. I wanted to go like explore the world. I wanted to go have fun. I wanted to go like live my life because that's, as you said, that's when your body is best. That's when your body is at its peak. It can handle all of that, especially if you want to do something a little bit more extreme or you want to like we want to go travel the road. It's a lot easier to travel when you're younger than it is when you're older.
Exactly, because like when you're younger, you don't have as much of a responsibility for things as you do when you're older
Yeah.
as well. So like you can pretty much do whatever you want, and you don't really have that much of like negativities for doing such things, unless like it's very very important. Like oh, you don't have like money where you have to work. Like that, I can understand that. That's just life problems, though. Like you're going to have those all your life, but you can be more flexible when you're younger though. Like you can save up like just enough money to be able to do something
Yeah.
as long as you're taking the proper precautions of like giving 2 weeks notices for your jobs and all of this types of things so it doesn't hurt you later in life as well.
Plan for it, but of course, but nothing's saying that you can't travel as a young person and being able to explore the world. I mean, I go to Los Angeles annually with my best friend, and we always plan for it. I mean, we always give ourselves time off. We save up for it every time. So, and I was still a student at that time too. During all those times I went to Los Angeles, so there's nothing wrong with doing it and exploring yourself, which is a great thing to do because you want to expose yourself to all these different experiences. The more experiences you get, the better.
Exactly. And like people say there's no better time than the present and I can fully agree with that. Like if because like before the COVID stuff hit, like I was planning on going from the Las Vegas 3v3. I had already booked a plane ticket to Japan and like I wanted to have like a 2 week vacation out in Japan because I've never been there. That's the one place in the world I want to go.
Yep.
And I finally had enough money to go, and then I wasn't able to go because of the COVID stuff. But even without that, I had actually like made the plans to go to Japan and be able to do all this. Like, having that opportunity is just surreal for me because, like, people say it's irresponsible to do stuff like that, but you don't have to be that responsible as long as you're safe while doing it, you know?
Yeah.
And being able to plan ahead and make it so, like, for instance, if you come back and you have, like, apartment fees and stuff like this, and, like, fees, car payments, all these types of things, and you're pretty much just abandoning all these types of duties, then there's a problem. But if you can sort all of that out and then actually plan yourself for a good vacation or something that you just wanted to do your entire life, then I would definitely advise to just go for it.
It's like a reward for being able to maintain your responsibility for so long, and then this is what the payoff is for you. That's how I kind of look at it.
Exactly, because whenever I was planning my trip to Japan, it was whenever I just started like coaching seriously and making good money off of it. Um, Even though I would have had sacrificed a month of streaming and coaching to go to Japan, I was willing to do that because like I took the necessary steps to be able to do that. Like I took the necessary steps and I made sure that it was safe to do these types of things, and I was very very happy about like what I achieved and was able to plan this out responsibly and actually be able to make this a pretty much a realization.
Well, thankfully for you, your trip to Berlin was paid for because you were competing in Worlds and Konami. Tell me more about your experience being in Berlin, competing in Worlds. We'll start with how was it just being able to just sightsee and just be in Berlin?
So for me, a lot of the competitors actually went early. They paid that extra fee to be able to go early and sightsee. But for me, like I said, I had never been out of the U.S. before. Well, I went to like Mexico and Canada and Toronto, but like that's not really out. That's like 30 minutes out. Like that's not actually out of the U.S. For me, flying overseas to Europe, like it was such a surreal experience, and like being able to like sightsee and have all this history. Like for instance, we went to the Berlin Wall where World War II was, and I was actually able to see all this history and these landmarks and stuff, and it was just so nice. And like being able to experience Berlin, like in Germany as itself, like the Germany is beautiful. By the way, like it's so beautiful. I didn't think that it would have been that beautiful, but it was so nice, and I was just very very fortunate to be able to pretty much be able to open myself up to this because of the time and sweat and tears and all of this types of stuff to be able to put into the game and actually see that my hard work had actually paid off.
Yeah, because again, this is your reward for the work that you put into the game. You get rewarded with a free trip to Berlin, and you get to represent North America, which it's a big prestigious honor for one thing, and not everybody gets to do that. So, being able to do that, I would think, is like probably a big honor and just a fantastic experience that you probably won't forget.
Exactly, and for me, like all the other North American representatives, like I was already really good friends with. So being able to pretty much go on a trip to Berlin with all your friends, like it just made the experience so much better.
Who did you hang out with when you were in Berlin?
So whenever I went to Berlin, I was actually on the same plane as Wei Li, which was one of the competitors. Um, he was the one that I spent the most time with. Our rooms were right next to each other. I got on the plane with him, and I flew back with him. It was mainly like me, Wei, Manav, Furman, Jesse, all pretty much all the North American representatives for the most part. I hung out with all of them, and we did stuff every single night that we were there.
What would you do exactly?
For me, I went sightseeing a lot. I went to like the main town. I went to go like pretty much pick up gifts for my friends. For me, one of the biggest things I wanted to get like chocolate to bring back to my friends. So I bought like $80 worth of chocolate to bring back. I bought like $80 worth of chocolate to bring back to the U.S. for my friends. I got presents for them. I got presents for my mom. Being able to do all this, I went and tried all these different types of foods. Back then, whenever I went, I was into like smoking hookah, and I tried out hookah bars there. We went out to like clubs and stuff, like nightclubs, to be able to like pretty much get the full experience of
Yeah,
like a
of course.
party in Germany,
Of
and
course,
it was
absolutely.
really nice.
What kind of food would you eat in Berlin? Because that's kind of the thing I'm really interested in.
Oh, for the food, I ate a lot of doner, which is like kebab.
Yep.
There's a lot of that around. I ate schnitzel.
Mhm.
I ate. We ate this Italian place, like this authentic Italian place, which
Mhm.
was like pasta, pizza, and all that twice.
Mhm.
Um, we ate doner a lot, like I said. The hotel that we were staying at actually made us like a full buffet with a whole
Oh,
bunch of different types of foods that were exclusive to like Germany,
oh, nice.
which was very nice. But yeah, it was pretty much like all the like stuff that all the food that like Germany is like known for.
Mhm.
It was like on every single block, so you're able to try it.
Mhm. Oh man, see that's the part of traveling that gets me, and just hearing about that is just making my mouth salivate right now. Now I'm really hungry again. Thanks.
I'm so sorry.
That's right. So now that that's your experience on the outside, now let's take it into the tournament, man. Because you came fourth place, so you made top eight, made the next day. How were you feeling going into actually performing at Worlds?
So for me, before round one started, we had to wake up at like 7:30,
Oh.
and we had to pretty much go over last minute like player meetings type stuff, being rulings, how to proceed, going back over how to shuffle your deck and all of this.
Mhm.
And whenever they were explaining this, I felt like I was going to puke. Honestly, I was so nervous. It's the most nervous I've ever been in a scene, and like even though like I've been on like streams for like nationals, I've been on stream for like Nats, YCSs, all these different types of things. Nothing can prepare you for going into round one of Worlds. There's nothing
Mhm.
that can prepare you for it. Like I felt sick like for the entirety of like rounds one and two. I just felt
Mhm.
so sick because I was so nervous and I didn't want to mess anything up and I didn't want to misplay and I didn't want to pretty much just like go 0-5 drop because everyone always makes fun of the guy that does that who gets
Mhm.
last at Worlds. And like I just didn't want that to happen. But after round two, I started to get into my groove. I started feeling a lot better. After the 5 rounds of Swiss, I came eighth.
Mhm.
So I barely made it, and I played against Jake Quincy in top eight, and this is the most important match I've ever played in my entirety of my
Mhm.
Yu-Gi-Oh career.
Mhm.
Because, for instance, we were playing for at least $10,000 in that one match,
Right. Ooh,
and that,
lot.
like, having that on my mind was so bad because once again I started feeling like I was going to throw up
Mhm.
once again because I knew what was on the line. And like I'd already played Jake once, not in that tournament, but like previously in the year, and I had lost to him. So that didn't help at all. But at the end of the match, like I was able to take a 2-0 victory over him. I played
Mhm.
very well. I didn't misplay at all, and I all my reads were correct.
Mhm.
And that's pretty much how the day one went. A very nervous thoughts. And I didn't let it affect me too much though, like of how I played my cards. It just made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah, because I know that you had to go against France in Sweden in round five, and I think you lost that. And that one was on stream, and you lost that one. But thankfully, you found out like, oh my god, I came eighth. I still qualified for the next day. I mean, was that feature match kind of like a little nerve wracking for you, or how did you feel during that?
I was actually very nervous in that. Not nervous, but I was very calm in that
Mhm.
feature match.
Mhm.
Because I had lost round one actually, and I had won three straight after that. And earlier, I had played against Jonas, who was playing the same deck. Like him and
Mhm.
Herman were playing the same deck, and then I had beat Jonas 2-0.
Mhm.
and I was feeling very good about the matchup. I was calm, and we went to game three, and sadly, I broke game three really bad. And
Yeah.
whenever I lost that matchup, I knew that I was out of the tournament. Like I just felt like I was out of the tournament, and um, so many things went right for me because one of the people that was playing up, one
Mhm.
of the one of the people with ties was playing up, and he ended up losing, so it allowed 1x2 to make it.
Oh,
And
nice.
like I said, I had lost round one, so I didn't think my tiebreakers were better than anyone else's.
Yeah,
So
because
I was
I would.
really upset.
Yeah, typically round one is, I say, is one of the most important rounds of a tournament because that's the one that helps dictate your tiebreakers. Because if you win that one, you're going to play winners. But if you lose that one, you're always going to play somebody with a loss from there on out, and it gets really tough to build your way back up there. So I can imagine the anxiety that you may have had after losing round five, considering you lost the first round and the last one, and your tiebreakers may not be good at that point in time.
Exactly. Like whenever they ended up calling my name, I almost started crying right there. Like there's so much emotion coming over me. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's so much emotion. But
Mm-hmm.
I was very very happy about that.
And what was your feeling after you won your top eight match, at least? Because you said that was like a $10,000 match, pretty much.
Yeah, like after I had won that match, I literally all of my anxiety and stuff just went away right then because I didn't have to play any more rounds for that day. I could sleep. I could pretty much rejuvenate and be able to like collect myself once again. And like something before, something interesting before my top eight match. After they called, they gave us like 5 to 10 minutes to
Mm-hmm.
be able to like go use the restroom and stuff. And like the entire time, I couldn't sit still at all. And like one of our chaperones, Robbie, he actually came up to me and he asked if I was nervous. I'm like, yeah, I'm a little nervous. Yeah, just a little. And he's like, if you just smile, if you force yourself to smile, all the nerves will go away. And so I pretty much forced myself to smile the entire match so that I
Mm-hmm.
could like pay attention.
But how was the experience for you overall then? Just being at Berlin and Worlds.
Overall, it was a fantastic experience. I couldn't have asked for more.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like I made so many friends while I was there. I got to meet so many people. I signed some cards from the European people. I was able to swap a lot of cards for
Mm-hmm.
people. I bought a lot of cards. I bought a lot of food. I bought a lot of gifts.
Yes.
Overall, like it was a great trip.
Is this an experience you're going to try to pursue again for future years? You know, once this pandemic is over and we can start getting back to playing in real life.
I probably will. Yeah. Being like getting fourth at Worlds like is a huge accomplishment, but it makes you just want to win so much more. Like because Worlds is the only like type of event that I haven't won yet, and I really want Worlds win. So
Yeah.
I'm going. It's definitely going to drive me to want to like pretty much perform at my best and be able to like win hats again, or even like get my Worlds invite for the point playoff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know that the United States has yet to have a national champion, at least on the adult level. So I'm sure that you becoming the very first one would be a nice little line on your resume, and that would be encrypted in history forever for you.
Exactly. Like being if I could get a Worlds win, it there would be no talk anymore about who's the best player. Like I'd be the best player at that.
Yeah, because definitely, if you can win that title, that'll definitely help you put you over the top over anybody else right now. Because I'm sure I'm sure it's safe to say that, like, not just Jesse, but there is debate between who currently is one of the best players in the world right now. But in my opinion, I don't think there's any debate that you are at least one of the top players that are currently out there today, which is a big reason why I wanted you on my podcast. That, and you also almost won the Remote Duel Invitational. Like, combine those two together, I'm like, okay, I got to have you on. And that was my reason for having you on anyway, because of your the level of your prestige, level of the play that you bring out there, and just what you've been doing in the game recently has just been absolutely dominant, which is a big reason why I have you on my podcast.
Right, and I appreciate it. And once again, it just shows like if you're determined to win, like you have the resources and you can actually do it. as long as you set your mind to it.
Absolutely, it is, and that's one thing you need to have in order to succeed in anything. It's just perseverance. That's just one
Right.
factor you need, and again, I'm sure you're exemplifying that because you told me, this is your full-time job now. This is what you're working on. This is what you've been going on for hours on end, and this is how you've been able to level that you are right now that only so many of us dream of being on at this point. I mean, I'm sure everybody around wants to go to Worlds. And
Right.
you're one of the very few who gets to experience that. So again, that had to be like a really awesome experience for you. And I'm sure you've got a lot of people that who want to emulate that kind of success.
Right. Being able, like I said, being able to go to Worlds is one of the greatest experiences you'll ever have in your entire life.
Mm-hmm.
If you're serious and have the passion for the game as I do. Like, it's definitely my favorite experience that I've ever had in my life so far.
Mm-hmm. And I can absolutely agree with you on that. And I can believe it too, because having that kind of experience, going to like a faraway place for free, being able to sightsee, enjoy the nightlife, the food for one thing, and then get to play on the biggest stage of something that you absolutely love. I mean, like, aside from just winning it, I don't know what could be anything better than that in that case.
Exactly.
All right, man. Koty, man, I really appreciate you coming on to my podcast and taking the time out to talk to me. I know you're like really busy a lot because I see you stream all the time on Twitch. Again, over 4,000 followers. That's a big following. Any shout outs you want to give before we head off?
Yeah. So first off, shout out to my sponsors, Luxury Gaming. We host tournaments every single day. We host current format tournaments. We host old format tournaments. We host rogue format tournaments, and we even host YCS type of tournaments. So if you guys are like wanting to play, itching to play, definitely check out us on Facebook, Luxury Gaming Tournaments. Like I said, we host tournaments every single day, and there's a tournament for you somewhere among those. Next off, I want to give a shout out to my Twitch. Once again, we've been saying it a lot. It's twitch.tv/Koty Angeloff. So if you guys are interested in getting better or even want to sign up for my coaching program, take notes, definitely hit me up on Twitch or Facebook and we can definitely work something out. And then the last shout out is going to be definitely the take notes coaching sessions. If you guys, like I said, want to get better and you are serious about getting better, I can help you get better. I can help you achieve your goals, whether it be topping a regional, topping a YCS, any of these things. Like, I can help you get better. There's always something to improve on. Even myself, like, I'm still improving day by day, and I think I have knowledge that can help you pretty much obtain your next goal. It's $30 for an hour. As it is right now, it's $30 an hour, 100 for 4 hours. Pretty cheap right now for the most part. But yeah, guys, that's gonna be it for me.
This is championship level advice you're getting from the reigning North American WCQ champion himself, Koty Angeloff. All 3 links will be posted below in the description on the YouTube channel. Koty, man, thank you so much for joining me on the stream. And again, congratulations on the Remote Duel Invitational. And again, to your national win that I know I messaged you on Facebook last year about it, but now I get to tell you in person for real about it now, even though it's been a year later, and you still get to hold on to that title for another year at least. So you've got that going through. But thanks again for coming onto the stream. I appreciate it, buddy.
Thank you for having me on here. It was a great experience.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Koty Angeloff, the current WCQ champion of North America and second place at the Remote Duel Invitational. Also a YCS winner at 2018 YCS Secaucus. That is Koty Angeloff. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone have a good night. Don't forget to like and subscribe. For more information, check out the Gate Expectations podcast on YouTube, Facebook, Patreon, Twitter, and Spotify.